welcome to class, everybody. Great to have you here today. Today is functional fitness. We alternate between yoga and functional fitness. So you are here today for functional fitness. Before we get moving, just a quick reminder of what else GoGo offers. So in addition to these classes, you can access rides, meals, groceries, medication delivery, and even home services by calling one number, and that phone number is 855-464-6872. We also have a referral code at the bottom of your GoGo receipts. So if you look at the bottom of your GoGo receipt, there's a code. You give that code to a friend. Once they've taken their first service with GoGo, then you will both receive $10 in credit. Also, a reminder that we have a Facebook group. So if you ever want to continue any of these conversations online or just see what other people are up to or how they use GoGo, you can find us on Facebook, and we'll share a link in the chat. All right, I see. Okay, thanks, Cliff. Welcome. I see Cliff from Utah. And of course, I see lots of familiar faces and names. And then now we have the link for our Facebook group in the chat. So if you want to find us there. If you haven't met, I'm Adra. I teach the yoga and the functional fitness class at GoGo, and we alternate between the yoga and the functional fitness. I'm here on Wednesdays and Fridays. Let's see, what do you need today? All you need is a chair and then maybe a set of weights or some cans. Something to hold on to move through some of our exercises. If you don't have cans, you don't have water bottles, you don't have weights, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Nothing at all is totally fine as well. That's it in terms of things that you need. But does anybody remember the functional fitness move of the week? So I give you on Wednesdays a move of the week that you have to hold on to for a couple of weeks because we alternate between yoga and functional fitness. So does anybody remember? Bertha, yeah?
The tandem standing.
Awesome. Did you get to practice that?
More or less, mostly less. But yes, but I'm very, very aware of my balance because that's one of the prime challenges of aging.
Yeah, I agree. That's great. I'm glad it was at least in the back of your mind of sort of thinking about that.
Every time I walk, I think about it.
Yes, great. Well, I'm glad you remember it. I can mostly almost always count on you to remember our move. So we all appreciate it because then we can get moving. Thanks, Bertha.
Well,
so we'll have a new move of the week today after class. So I'm going to stop sharing. Alrighty, so now my screen should be nice and big. It's a little blurry. I'm just gonna wipe it here a little bit. Just 1 second, everybody. My screen's nice and big. If for some reason you don't see me nice and big, you have to adjust your settings. So the way you would do that is you're going to move your cursor to the top right-hand corner of your Zoom screen. And you'll go over something that says view, a little box will pop up. And if you click that view box, you can change it to speaker setting, which would be me. Or if you want it to see everybody else, that would be gallery view. Let's see. Please only move in ways that feel good. Take breaks as needed. Listen to your body. So only move in ways that are safe. So everything I suggest and say are merely that, suggestions. So if it's not right for you, don't do it. I was just moving my mic so it's a little closer to me. Excuse me, sip of water. Whew, okay. Just got something caught in my throat. We'll get started. Let's start standing tall, a couple shoulder rolls back. And shoulder rolls forward. Allow those shoulders to relax and rotate the head no, turning right and left. And nod the head, yes. And then bring one ear towards your shoulder, a little side stretch of the neck. And then other ear to shoulder. One more time, ear to shoulder, first side. And other ear. And back to center. Well, inhale, bend the knees, lift the shoulders up towards the ears. And then exhale, straighten out the legs, let the shoulders drop. Inhale as you bend, shoulders lift. Exhale as you straighten, shoulders lower. Couple more times at your own pace. So it's more of a plie in that your hips stay stacked over your ankles as you bend those knees. We're just finding a little range of motion here. Knees, ankles. All right, and then coming all the way up. We're gonna have a seat here. Just so you know, this class is mostly standing, but we are gonna begin seated today. So go ahead and find your seat. I'm just putting my weights off to the side, so you don't need your weights right now. I'll turn sideways so you can see my back a little bit. Go ahead and find your seat and scooch forward towards the front edge of your chair and get those feet on the ground. So pause there for a moment and see if you can just get a sense of the position of your body. And then I want you to bring one hand to your low back. I'm going to come closer so you can see where I am. So I'm here on the spine at the low back. So if I go too low, that's actually our sacrum. So that's kind of this harder feeling bone. If you go a little higher, if you go to the side of the spine, you feel the soft tissue, and then you move on to the spine. So that's where I want you to be. And if you're not sure, it's okay. This is not totally vital to have it perfect, but one or both hands on the spine. So this part of the spine should have a bit of a curve. And let's see if I take this off, this is easier to see. A bit of a curve, I'm going to exaggerate it this way. So it shouldn't be tucked under here. It should have a little bit, not this much, but it should have a little bit of a curve that direction. Just so you get a sense that it's almost like the spine is more forward in the body or more towards your belly button than towards the back of your chair. So hands on that area, one or both. I want you to try and keep that part of the spine completely still. So it's not going to change shape as you try and march. So that's lifting one knee and then the other. So why am I making you do this? In a little bit, we're going to be doing deadlifts, and a big part of doing deadlifts is actually protecting your spine and not moving the spine. Oftentimes back injuries occur because we're really rounding our back and curling our spine when we do activities that have load. And the weight of our body is load. So even if you're not picking something up, or picking something heavy up, just getting down to pick up a pencil or to put on your shoes has load because the weight of your body is coming down. And so what we're doing here is we're trying to reduce the load on the spine and really put it into the big joints of the body, like the hips. And so we're seeing, is it possible to do this marching motion without changing the shape of the spine? You might feel the muscles around the spine changing, but I don't want it to feel like those bones in your back are moving back and forward. So let me show you what that would look like. This. We don't want this happening. So that's you lifting your leg with your spine versus keeping your spine still and lifting your leg with your leg. So just getting a sense of you can feel that, and we'll have lots of other opportunities to play with this as we continue on. All right, so we'll let that go, letting go of the marching. Go ahead and lean forward now. So we're still sitting on our chair. Let your toes point forward and scoot your feet back just a little bit. So instead of those ankles being directly under the knees, they're going back just a little bit, and lean forward. Try not to change that shape of the spine of the low back. So the upper back, it's normal to have a bit of a curve where there's more spine towards the back of the body than the front of the body. But I want that low back to stay the same. So if you need to, you can always touch that part of the spine. Lean forward only so far as you can without changing the shape of the spine, and then come back up. So this is a lot of that same deadlift motion. We're trying to find the movement of our pelvis rolling over our thighs. So we're leaning forward by rolling these hard bones of our pelvis forward and then back. So the spine isn't really changing shape. It's just coming along for the ride. So playing with that. I like the hands on the hips or on the pelvis because I can feel the pelvis moving. It's almost like you're sticking your tail out behind you as you lean forward. So I want you to go as far forward as you can without changing the shape of the spine. The moment the spine wants to round, that's where you want to stop. And then come back up. We'll do that 2 more times, leaning forward and up. It's fine for the muscles of the back to be working. We just don't want it to feel like the spine is really moving a ton. All right, now we're going to add a squat. So as you lean forward, you have options. You could reach your arms forward. You could put your hands on your thighs, or you could do nothing at all with your arms. You'll come all the way up. And then with control, you're coming down. So if you need to, you grab your armrests. If you can do without, your hands can be on your thighs or reaching forward or just down. We're coming down with as much control as possible. And now we do squats. We're doing chair squats. So noticing if you're doing anything interesting with your spine or different with your spine. The upper part of the spine can have that normal kind of rounded curve, but then that lower part should not round forward like a Halloween cat. It should stay nice and neutral the whole time. Again, feeling free to use your armrests if needed, your hands. You could also put a pillow under your hips to make it a little bit easier. The higher the chair, the less challenging this will be. I want you to be moving with control though, right? So I don't want it to feel like you're plopping down. If that's the case, either use your armrests or sit up taller, put some pillows underneath your hips so that you have a little bit more height. Let's do that 2 or 3 more times. All right. The next time you're standing, we'll stay standing and we'll grab our weights. We're going to keep coming back to that theme of our hips, but we're going to give our legs a little break and move to our upper body. So with our weights, we will bend our elbows and bring the weights by the shoulders, palms face forward. So I'm kind of creating this W shape with my arms. Try not to change the shape of the spine. Let's alternate arms for this first round. So the spine tries not to change shape. You reach one arm up towards the ceiling, bring it down, and then the other. Of course, if you have a shoulder injury, maybe you only do one arm and not both. Watch what your spine is doing here. So the theme today really is, can you move the things around the spine without loading the spine? So spine is not changing shape. This is not what we're doing. You see how my pelvis moves forward? That puts a lot of load on the spine. And so if that's what's happening for you, either reach those weights forward so that it feels like you have that range, or put the weights down and reach the arms up. So we really want to make sure that that spine is still and that you're really working the arms and the shoulders and not the back here. Nothing. Maybe we'll do some today, but we're trying not to load those tiny bones in the spine and our little discs in the spine. All right, even yourself out, right to left, and let that go. You can keep holding onto your weights if you'd like. We're working the legs here in our deadlift motion, so it's really up to you whether you want the weights or not. They're not gonna make a huge difference in terms of what's happening, but if they're distracting you, get rid of them. I'm gonna put mine down for a little bit just because it will be easier for me to use my arms to explain things. So we're taking our feet about shoulder width apart, toes are pointing forward. So set yourself up, shoulder width apart, toes are pointing forward. Again, we're trying not to change that shape of the spine. So if you want, you can even touch that low back for these first few. We hinge forward at the hip. So notice that, let's see if I move my arms out of the way, that my spine really isn't changing shape. It's just my hips bending. So right now my legs are straight. So we'll do that a few times. You're not going to go that far with those legs straight. And if you have the weights would just come forward in front of you. So we're feeling, can we keep that spine completely still and then go down and up? So you can even hold your torso and go, okay, is my spine bending? Is it moving or is it staying still? So that's step one. We find that motion. And again, using your hands are a really nice cue. It's a nice teacher. You don't have to. Now we add our second piece. We hinge forward and then we bend those knees, because how are you going to reach something on the ground without bending those knees? So you're hinging forward and bending those knees. Again, the shape of the spine has not really changed. That way we're closer to the earth to pick up whatever it is that we've dropped on the ground. And then we come up. So we bend those knees, hinge forward. I don't care how low you go. What's important to me is that your spine doesn't change shape. And then coming up. If you're holding those weights, the weights are just in front of you. But just watching that you're really feeling and sensing that your spine isn't changing shape. Your back should be nice and quiet. And then it's really the legs doing the work. So this is how we want to pick things up off of the ground. Right, you're going down to get that laundry basket. We want it to be flat like this and not like this. You see what I'm doing right now? That's how we injure our back, that really big rounding there. So we want that spine to be nice and long. So this is what we want, not this. This is what we want, not this, okay? Couple more. We'll get a chance to do more of these later, so just a few more here. Watching that if maybe you get tired in the legs, that suddenly your back wants to do more. All right, and then coming all the way up, shake it off. Grab those weights or cans or water bottles. We're going back to the overhead presses. The option now is if you want to find a wall and put your back against the wall, heels maybe an inch away from the wall. So you'll feel your hips against the wall and your upper back against the wall or middle back. Try and keep those points still against the wall. And depending on your neck, maybe your head touches the wall. Try and keep all of those points against the wall as you do the overhead presses. Option to continue to do one arm and then the other, or both arms. So the wall is just a nice teacher, because you'll find as you reach those arms overhead, your back might come away from the wall. And it's not the low back is not touching the wall. It's the middle upper back and those hips are touching the wall. And noticing if those parts of the body move away from the wall as the arms reach up. And if that's the case, then either you need to get rid of your weights, lower the weights, or reach the arms a little forward. Or maybe you don't straighten all the way. We're really trying to find ways to move our limbs without moving that spine. And so if you were lifting by your back, you would know because the back or the pelvis would move away from the wall as you do these overhead presses. All right, let's put those weights down. Woo! Shake it off. So we're going back to those deadlifts, but we'll do it in a split stance. So it's going to feel a little different. If that's too much extra, just go back to exactly what we were doing before, shoulder width apart with the hinging of the hips and bending forward. If you need a little bit different challenge, you'll take your right foot slightly behind you. So I'm just stepping that right foot back. Feel free to be near a wall or a chair if you're worried about your balance. My feet still have space between them. So my back heel is off the ground, the front foot is flat, the right foot is back, the left foot is in front. That same idea is happening though. So we're going to hinge forward, right? So spine does not change shape, spine stays exactly as is. We hinge forward and we bend the knees and then we come up. So it's the same thing, but we want more weight to be in that front leg. So there is more weight now in my left leg than my right, thinking maybe 80% of the weight is forward in that front leg. So now that we can really strengthen that left leg, it's very important that you are watching your spine. Maybe you're only moving 2 or 3 inches because you don't have the strength yet in the legs, and that's fine. It is more important that you don't change the shape of your spine than that you go really low. So it might only be really, really small. So I'm showing kind of a smaller version because it's important to me that you do this well versus going really deep, but actually you're not going really deep if you're rounding your back. All right, coming up, we'll switch legs. So other leg comes in front. So if you're doing the same as me, right foot goes forward, left foot goes back. Same thing, we're hinging forward from the hips and bending those knees. I don't care how low you go, I care that your spine isn't moving. So if you need to hold on to your torso to sense that your spine is not rounding forward, then do it, that's fine. Our hands are really good teachers. Sometimes it's really hard to feel what's going on in our body. And then the moment we put our hands on, we go, oh, wow, I'm really doing that rounding thing. And it's not about that range of motion or it's not about how low you get to the earth. It's about really keeping that spine still and putting all of the work in the legs. It should feel like your legs are doing the work. Couple more. Okay, and coming up, shake it off. We're gonna do another set of overhead presses, but I'm gonna invite you to, instead of have your arms be in the W shape, have it be in the narrow shape. So what we were doing before, I'll show you, is that our palms would be facing forward and we pressed up. Now, if you'd like, you're gonna go narrow, like there's a kind of a magnet between your elbows and your hands and go straight up that way. So instead of letting those elbows sway out, you're keeping them narrow. So it's just an option if you want something different. You have that same option of finding the wall with your arms down, hips and back against the wall, upper back against the wall, heels an inch away from the wall, and doing the presses that way to keep yourself honest. It's just an option. You don't have to do it. You can just try and think about where. where your spine is and really try not to involve the spine in this motion. So the wall is acting, if you are using the wall, like the hands work. They're that tactile cue. They're showing you, is something happening? Am I moving away from the wall? Is the pressure changing? All right. And then letting that go, shaking it off. We're gonna move on to some squats now. It's the same idea that the spine doesn't change shape, but instead of leaning forward with the torso stays more upright. You can have your weights by your chest if you'd like, or get rid of your weights. Take your feet about shoulder width apart or a little wider. You can let your toes point out slightly. That'll make it a little bit easier, a little more accessible. Spine doesn't change shape. It does move forward a little bit. We bend those knees, right? So we see my spine isn't changing shape. We're bending the knees, but I'm more upright and then coming up. So now we're working more the front of the legs. So deadlifts, what we were doing earlier, the one-legged with one in front, one back, or with both feet next to each other, works more of the back of the legs. And squats work more of the front of the legs, but the backs of the legs are still involved. So we're trying to find these squats moving in a range of motion that does not change the shape of the spine. I'm going to show you what not to do. I don't want it to look like that. You see how my back really rounds and tucks under? I want that tail to stay in its shape the whole time. All right, and coming up, shaking it off. We're going to do some rows with some tricep kickbacks now. Find it's helpful to face a chair. It's going to depend on your flexibility, whether you want to face the base of your chair or the back of your chair. I will show you both. So if you want to go to the back of the chair, you're going to hold on to just one weight. One hand on the back of the chair and you'll lean forward. So we're finding that same deadlift position, right? So the spine stays the same. You hinge forward, you can have a small bend of the knees, and then hand is on the back of the chair. This is probably what most of us need. Some of you who are really flexible can come onto the fist or onto a hand onto the base of the chair. And it's the same thing. It's a deadlift motion. But if you find that you're rounded, then that's too much. Don't do it. Go to the back of the chair. So I'm going to do it on the back of the chair. So we're using that for support. We're hinging forward like a deadlift. I'm holding the weight in the left hand. It doesn't matter though. We'll do both arms. The spine is still. It's supported. The core is engaged. We bend the elbow. Elbow stays high. Straighten the arm back behind you. Then rebend and lower. So we row, we bend the elbow, straighten the arm back behind you, rebend and lower. So you keep going like this. Okay, and then coming up. Switching sides, so putting the weight in the other hand. And same thing, hinging forward, holding on to whatever part of the chair you want. You're hinging forward so the back is not rounding. You're supporting yourself as needed. We bend the elbow, elbow stays high, straighten the arm back behind you, rebend and lower down. All right, and then coming up, shake it off. And we're going back to those squats. So if you want, you can have both your weights or none or one. Weights come in front of the chest. All those same principles apply. Feet are gonna go wide, maybe a little wider than the shoulders, toes can point slightly out. We bend those knees, torso stays upright, and then we straighten. The hips can go back behind you, so there's motion at the hips. There is not motion at the spine. It's up to you how low you go. You can make these very small or you can make them bigger so long as you're protecting that back. Let's do one more. And coming up. All right. So holding on to one weight if you want the weight, or can, or nothing at all. We're going back to those rows with the tricep extension. So finding yourself at your chair, either the back of the chair or the base of the chair. But again, making sure that motion is happening at the hips when you come forward and not at the spine. Knees can be as bent as necessary. We bend one elbow, straighten the arm back behind you so the arm is almost parallel to the earth or is parallel, then rebend and lower. Keep going. And then we'll let that go and switch sides. So come up, shake it off. Weight goes in the other hand, same thing, leaning forward as much or as little as you want. We bend the elbows, straighten the arm, rebend and lower. So we have our row, tricep extension and release. All right, and coming up, letting that go, shake it off. Putting your weights to the side for a little bit. And standing tall. Again, you can find that wall if that's helpful for you. So heels would be an inch away from the wall, hips and upper back against the wall, or like heart rate monitor height against the wall. You don't have to though. So finding a nice tall stance otherwise. Jaw is relaxed. And then we'll reach those arms up towards the ceiling. So reaching as high up as you can, imagine that you're holding something, because in a minute we're going to give that, allow that to be an opportunity. If you can't have both arms up, you can just have one arm up. That's totally fine if you have some sort of injury. You can also have your elbows bent if that's safer on your body. You're going to side bend to one side. So now we're sensing the load of our arms, the weight of our arms, and then pull yourself back to center. We side bend to the other side, and then pull yourself back to center. Let's add some breath. So we inhale, side bend. Exhale, lifting up. Inhale, side bend. Exhale, lifting up. Keep going, couple more times. All right, and come back to center. Release those arms, shake them off. Take a moment. Okay, now we're gonna grab one of our weights. If you have one, if you don't have one, it's okay. And we'll bring the weights forward in front of us and then back towards us. I'll show you a side view. Weight comes forward and back. Try not to change the shape of the rest of the body as you do that. So we're doing that a few times. You might sense that your core wakes up a little bit as the weight moves away from the body. Couple more. All right, and then take a little break. If you want, we're going to do those side bends with the weight. If the side bends were already hard without the weight, then don't use the weight. So arms go up towards the ceiling, maybe with the weight, maybe not. If your elbows were bent, then don't grab the weight. Do it without the weight. You're going to side bend to one side. And then bring yourself back to center. Keep it smaller if you have weight. Inhale, side bend. Really small. Exhale, lift yourself back up. Keep going. Keep it really small or get rid of that weight. Start to even yourself out so you've done the same right to left. And then come back to center, lowering that weight down. Woo. All right, so we're gonna do those same things. So you have that weight. We're gonna press it forward in front of you and then back down or back towards you. So forward and back. And your goal is to keep the torso as still as possible, the legs as still as possible. Nothing is moving but those arms. So you're not moving your body to adjust the weight, you're engaging the abdominals to support the reaching of the arms forward. All right, and bringing that down, putting the weight off to the side. Let's come behind our chair or find a wall or a table, so something to hold on to for balance. We're gonna do last 2 weeks ago, our move of the week. So we'll do a tandem stance. Let's step the right foot in front of the left. So one foot directly in front of the other, finding your balance here. Maybe you're holding on with one hand, two hands, one finger, no hands. Hands back to the chair and we switch. Other foot in front. Holding on with one hand, two hands, one finger, hovering, whatever works. And then hands back to the chair. Feet back next to each other. We're going to an upside down L position. So keep holding onto your support. Walk your feet back and we're creating an upside down L. So the torso is moving towards parallel to the earth. If that is not possible, the torso is up higher. Legs can be straight or they can be bent. The ankles are underneath the hips approximately. Few deep breaths. Lift your torso up halfway, so don't come all the way up. We step the right foot forward and bend the right knee. Back leg is straight. We're going into a calf stretch. If you need to come into this a different way, right foot is in front, left foot is behind. So you can come from standing if you want. Right foot is in front, left foot is behind. All 10 toes are facing forward. We bend the front knee, the back leg is straight. The heels are pushing into the ground, especially that back heel. Let's step that back foot forward and we switch legs. So left foot is in front now, right foot goes behind. All 10 toes face forward. Both heels are on the ground. We bend the front knee, the back leg is straight. And go ahead and come forward, shake it off. Step away from your chair. We'll inhale, circle the arms out to the side and up towards the ceiling. Exhale, arms circle out and down. Inhale, arms circle out and up. Exhale, arms come down. One more. Inhale, arms circle out and up. Exhale, arms come down. Thank you so much, everybody. Awesome work today. Great to have you as always. Our move of the week is noticing how you pick things up off the ground. And as best you can, try not to move that spine. So we spent a lot of time today trying to protect the spine and move through our big joints. So what I want you to notice is when you do bend over to pick something up, see if you can create that deadlift motion where you're really bending the knees and hinging at the hips to pick something up. So like this, instead of this, right? This rounding can be a lot of pressure on the spine. So we want to find that nice long position. So just noticing, even if your stance is split to pick something up, or your stance is really wide to pick something up, notice, can you keep your spine in that neutral position? So just, that's the move. Notice how you move your spine when you pick things up, or if you can reduce how much you bend at the spine when you pick things up. Oh, it's my mic. Sorry. That was probably really loud for you. I'm going to write that down. So how you pick things up, or pick things up without using the spine. I have to write it down, otherwise I will forget. Okay, so now we have a couple of minutes. If anybody has any questions, Now is your time.
Adra, this is Carol. Thank you. I couldn't do much, but at least you got me going again today.
Great. I'm glad you came, even if you couldn't do a lot today. Great to have you as always.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you next week. Yeah, and I'm seeing some waves, so yes, you're welcome to pop off whenever you need to. Oh, I see, maybe there's something in the chat. Okay. Oh yeah, so this shows us in the chat, one of the images is a calendar that gives us the calendar for the rest of the month, just so you know what's going on. So today is the 13th. So we had functional fitness. And then we have a regular schedule, except for Friday after Thanksgiving, there is no class. So just so you know, we have class on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, but no class after Thanksgiving. And then we restart the following Wednesday.
You're on my Thanksgiving list as someone to be thankful for.
Oh, thank you, Bertha.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Adra, I wanted to add surfing and snowboarding on your balance, because when you stand to one side or the other, it's not necessarily for skiing it. When you're strapped into a snowboard and you've got your two boots or whatever, you have them just slightly offset to where, depending on whether or not you're a left foot forward or right foot forward. They call it goofy footing. I'm a goofy footer, but the visualization was used at Vail for years. They'd take the ski students and put them in a warming hut at the top of the hill. They would show them a video of what they wanted them to practice, kind of like what you're doing, and then they'd walk outside on their skis and then go do exactly what they saw there, rather than try to stand out in the cold, and start getting cold while somebody was trying to show you what's going on, So just the idea that visualization works. Now, as to your bending over and picking something up, we old people, we've got those little devices with a little pistol grip that we just reach down and, or they
The
get them out of
reachers.
the cupboard and stuff like that. And I said, we're way past that. So now we got Adra bringing us back to the we can do it. We can do it. I said, oh, well, I've got mine right next to me. I got it in my holster, just in case if I can't. So
yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing, Ross.
and this is a picture of the Grand Canyon when you're walking from the South Kaibab and you're walking down into it, and then all of a sudden there's storms down there. So just that kind of a eerie looking as you walk down the trail that, oh, this is what we're walking into type of stuff.
Yeah.
It was this last week, so it wasn't me, it was a friend of mine. So anyway, he posted the picture, so I thought I'd share it with you.
Yeah, I always like to see that when you show different photos.
Well, supposedly it's a calming effect, but then it's also the dread when you're coming into class. Oh no, I've got to move. I've got to exercise. Oh, I've got Adra to go along with me, because obviously somebody took that picture, so that person's not by themselves. So as we do our exercises, we're not by ourselves. We have our group, and we have Adra to lead us through. So happy Thanksgiving. So
Yep. No, it is very nice to have all of us together, because it's nice to see. I like to see you all exercising, or at least see your names, then I know I'm not alone. Oh,
Thank you very much.
thanks
See you
for
soon.
All right, everybody, I will let you go. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Hopefully I see you Friday, if not Wednesday next week. As usual, we alternate. So Friday will be yoga. Next Wednesday will be yoga again. And then the Friday after will be functional fitness. But we have the calendar there, and I think we've been emailing you the calendar as well. So great to have you. I will see you soon. Take care.